So Zeb and I are dividing and conquering today, which means I have 7 kids at the house. Some of them don't belong to me. He's at the new house by himself working in silence, which I'm a little bit jealous about. And I am left to clean out all of the half-finished projects in the garage because we are less than a month away from opening our own shop, and we have done this many things to prepare for it. So I'm going to tell you what I've done so far today to get to this point, because people say, how do you do it all? So this morning I started out with a meeting with Zeb and Caitlin, and we made a to-do list and divided up all the chores that need to happen for Jami Ray Vintage over the next month. I finished this mirror here. See, it was already painted, but I waxed it and put the transfer on it. So that's heavy and done. Then I worked out. Then I came home and fed 7 children Taco Bell. Cleaned up the kitchen so I could get started and laid out all my stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the white section, move to the apothecary and the, what color is that? Apothecary and skeleton key section. Then we're going to move over while this dries. We're going to be working on the items that need just a little bit of finishing or just cleaning. And this is like 1/10 of all the things I gotta get done out of the garage. Also, I need to finish this bench that I started on our Saturday Night Live and never finished. Probably clean up this situation. These things just need to be wiped down. Those baskets need to be prepped. We got a window that needs a transfer there. And then, let's see, this needs to be washed, and just make sure all of these things are ready to go to the shop. All right, so white swan's the first color. DIY paint, sticks to almost everything. Get it at JamiRayVintage.com. I could totally spray this, but Zeb's not here. The garage is a hot mess. I don't want to move stuff to spray, so brushing is what we're doing today. So this isn't even actually apothecary. This is apothecary mixed with gypsy green, so it makes more of a sagey green color. That's what this was painted in, so I'm gonna go ahead and touch this up. We actually had a little breakage after we went live and Zeb had to super glue it. So I just need to touch up where it was super glued and a few other spots, and this piece is done. Moving on to actual apothecary, you can see it's a little bit more blue. Can you see the difference between the, oh, that's not apothecary, this one. See the difference between the two of these? So I'm going to, and this one is actually painted in milk paint, but it's getting apothecary. So I'm gonna open this pint of actual apothecary and then finish painting up these small items, and then we'll bust into the skeleton key paint, skeleton key paint. This bowl is already painted, but the bottom really needs a paint job. So I'm just gonna paint the bottom of it so that it looks finished. It's like this rolled edge, so it's kind of hard to see where it stops and where it starts. Normally I don't paint the bottoms of things, but in this case, I made an exception. This has already been single coated, so I'm just putting a second coat on here. I actually am not sure what the first coat was. I'm not even sure it's apothecary, but this is close enough. Oh, it may have been Farm Fresh. I don't know. Painted now. Little baby candlestick that didn't have any paint on it, so. One last one. This one I think is up trying to paint blend. I'm not even sure what colors he used. But it's just getting a solid coat. All right, so we have this little tiny bit of space left here on the table. Last two items are painted in skeleton key. At least I think that was it. We'll find out here in a minute. I get asked a lot, how do I open my DIY paint cans? Needle nose pliers. You could also use a screwdriver, but these work the best. The quartz have these clips on them, so that way they ship without, you know, getting all over the place. And you just put that in there. And boom, done. All right, so I'm gonna grab one more paintbrush, put a coat of skeleton key on these, and then we're gonna move over to the stuff that just needs to wipe down pile. Oh, also, you can use your needle nose. Pop that lid right open. I think this is the color. So skeleton key is like a blue-gray, and it's really pretty. What happens is I start these things on the Saturday Lives. I get one coat on them and then I never come back. That's the truth. Second coating's pretty simple and fast. So including filming, I painted all of these projects in about 30 minutes. So some of them had a first coat already and some of them may need a second coat. I'm trying to think. This one here did not have a first coat, so this is gonna get touch up. That little candlestick there, but it looks like it's got pretty good coverage. I'm gonna distress it anyways. So we're gonna move on to the stuff that just needs wet distressed and cleaned, and possibly an IOD transfer. This piece was painted Saturday. It's got a little bleed through, but I'm just gonna wet distress it, then I'll seal it because I'm gonna put a transfer, and then I'll just use some dark wax maybe to hide the coloration coming through. Wet distressing, just as a damp rag, and you just pull that paint right off. It's pretty easy. This only works because DIY paint is water soluble until it's sealed. Once it's sealed, or if you try to do this with latex paint, it won't work. But when you just have paint, you can wet distress with just water. I'm using DIY Big Top before I put my transfer on because DIY paint is heavily pigmented and really chalky, and the transfers don't like to stick directly to the paint. So I just put this underneath where the transfer is gonna go. I'm not worried about the edge because I will wax that later. I'm using a big Worcester foam brush because it alleviates brush strokes, and I'll put the Amazon link for this. The rest of the paintbrushes you've seen me use are all Paint Pixie or the DIY paintbrushes, and you can pick those up at JamiRayVintage.com, as well as the Big Top. No VOC, no solvents, totally safe to use in my kitchen. While that dries, we're gonna move on to pens. These just need a little wet distress. So I'm just gonna take off some of this paint, make them look a little old. These I will seal with butcher block oil because it's food safe, and I'll seal this middle part with the butcher block oil too. Ta-da, just a little distress. Honestly, I don't think people use these to eat with anyways. They're just for looks. This was painted, I think, Bohemian Blue. and it's gonna get white wax. If I wasn't gonna white wax it, I totally would use a different rag because I'm gonna get white on it from all my white distressing, but it'll be okay. So the next thing is I just got a bunch of stuff that needs to be wiped down so that way it's just clean and ready to go in the shop. Sometimes I just put it in the dishwasher. That also works, but my dishwasher is full right now because all the kids are home. I leave my silver tarnished. I hear you can use toothpaste and shine it right up, but I like to leave it tarnished because most people love the patina. All right, last but not least, you guys remember when we did this lamp? It's been living in my room. It's gonna get a little scrubbing. It's got a few scuff marks on this lampshade, and I'm just gonna use a Lysol wipe and just wipe those off. And you're probably going, why isn't she using washcloths? I normally do, but they're all dirty. So I'm using these Lysol wipes that I probably had for like, I don't know, a year, because I don't use them very often. But sometimes you just gotta get a job done. Next, I'm just touching up this bench from Saturday's live, making sure that everywhere has a good coat of paint. We had a few spots where my tape wasn't quite right on the stripe, so I'm just fixing that now. Okay, so we've got a few things that we wiped. We got Jack, we got the lamp in the back. We're gonna go see what Dad needs at the house and then drop the stuff that's finished by the shop. We're at the house to see what Dad's doing. Say hi, Jack. Hi. He's going straight out to the backyard. You need a bottle of water, Jack? Yeah. Come grab a bottle of water. This is what we've been working on. We got this flooring all finished, and then Saturday, Zeb came in and finished this patch here. This is where the stairs used to be. And then he finished this morning. You remember there was like this wonky looking hole. So we patched that, and then we've got this skinny little strip here. And we just need to patch that little hole. I don't know what he's gonna do with that. Maybe just Bondo. Here, look at that hand. He's down in the basement. All right, Zeb, is this gonna work?
Yeah, it should. We were going for oak, but they didn't have the right width, so we're gonna use poplar. It'll be at least as hard as that pine is in there, so it should be okay.
All right, so this is what he's planning on doing. He's gonna cut down these boards, and we're gonna fill in this space between the two rooms that wasn't quite straight.
Yeah, it might require some wood filler here and there.
I think this whole floor might require some wood filler, especially over here where there's this like hole.
Yeah, I couldn't get that to fit in good. It wasn't cut good and it was all crumbly, so.
All right, so here's a basket of stuff that I brought in and already tagged. I put those 3 little books. You probably saw these on a Saturday Night Live. Got those all tagged and in place. We've got our lamp over here in the corner. I'd like to find a better place for it, but for today, that'll do until I get it reorganized. We got our chippy green toolbox. Painted this on a Saturday Night Live, and we've just got to figure out where to put the rest of the stuff. Now, these 3 items here, I kind of keep all of my rolling pins together. So they'll just go right in there. I need to get another glass jar. I had an extra one, but looks like it's sold. So I'll get another one of these big glass jars next time I see it. This is my tarnished silver display. So I'm just gonna fit this extra dish. Oh, that's not gonna work. And we'll put this one right there. Ta-da! Now I just need to figure out where to put this big red basket. It's really cool, but I don't know where to put it. Got a space on the wall over there, but I think it would look too deep there. Decisions. We'll just put it over here. Put that there for now. Sometimes things just hang out till I find a better spot for them. All right, let me give you a little tour of the old shop. It needs a little refresh, but I'll be back in here later this week with everything that I painted today. And we'll refresh it and reorganize it. We've got a market coming up on Saturday, so we'll have extra vendors here. And so I always want to make sure before I have a market that I restock everything really, really well. Okay, so I've got my head crouched down so I don't have to move the camera, but you can still see what I'm doing. I'm using the IOD transfer, ladies in waiting. It comes with 4 flowers about this big. So when you have smaller ones, you can actually use 1 transfer and get 4 projects, which I love. One of the things that you want to remember, we sealed this. So that way our transfer will stick and there won't be any like chalky dust from the paint making it not stick. Okay, so it's a little bit big, so I'm going to cut where it's going over the edge on, I think that's okay. I'm gonna cut right here and then I'll cut across there and then we'll be good to go. Okay, now it's on here. I'm gonna get it down into where it's gonna live. All right, so I've got my stick. This comes with the transfer. You can pick these transfers up at jamirayvintage.com, or if you're local to Lehi, stop by the shop. We'll drop that address below. If you lift it up and it's still stuck to the backing, just put it back down and rub it on, it'll be fine. Okay, so once you can, it's kind of milky, you know that it's all the way off. You can remove the top, and here's the transfer. I'm going to take a rag and burnish it and just rub on the transfer, make sure it's on really good. Then everything's getting a coat of clear wax, and then I'm going to dark wax the details. I'm using DIY clear wax because it's non-toxic and it won't mess up my transfer. You always want to use non-toxic, no VOC, all natural products on your transfers. Harsh chemicals can cause it to peel. Now, I didn't wax underneath the transfer, I used Big Top because I don't really feel like these stick really well on top of wax. But the reason why I'm waxing this edge is because I already had some bleed through, and so a liquid sealer would make it worse. So I'm gonna clear wax the whole edge, then we're gonna dark wax it, and hopefully the dark wax will hide some of the imperfections from the bleed through that happened from the paint that was underneath it. I'm using DIY black wax and a flat top paint pixie brush. Truth is, you could use a regular wax brush, but when I'm using this dark wax, I like to have a little bit more control, and the smaller area that I have to put the wax on, the more control I get. So I'm just gonna bring this through over the top where I've already clear waxed, kind of bring out some of the detail. I'm just gonna try to get it down into all the cracks, and it's okay if some of it comes across on the middle. Now you could use dark wax, but I'm a fan of black wax. I really like the way it looks. Thanks.
Mystery hand.
And now that the mystery hand has brought me the wax, the lid-free rag, I'm just gonna wipe back and take off this black wax so it doesn't look so dirty. And I'll give you a close-up in a little bit, but you can kind of see it just takes it off. Now if I had not clear waxed it first, oh my heavens, it would be a big hot mess. But because it's clear waxed, it doesn't stick everywhere. Ooh, there we go. Ta-da! Isn't she pretty? Now I'm just gonna wet distress all the random stuff, damp rag, just water, going over the details, just to bring back some of the original finish on the piece. The other thing about wet distressing instead of using sandpaper is that you would never want to use sandpaper on something as delicate as these flowers. It would really flatten them. So wet distress is a way to bring out the detail without messing up the original molded part of the frame. us home.
For a minute, I'm gonna go back and do some more work in a little bit. Just took a dinner break and came to help finish these projects up.
I was like, help me, help motivate me to get these finished.
I came home and she was eating dinner in bed by herself.
It was more like winter.
I have a food grade mineral oil, and we got this at IKEA. You can pick it up all over the place. They sell it at Home Depot. Most grocery stores will have it. And we've sanded these and cleaned them, and they've been wet distressed on the handles. The nice thing about this mineral oil is it will seal the DIY paint. You don't necessarily want to run it through your dishwasher or scrub it down super heavy, but if you give it time to cure, it'll seal it up nice.
So that finished up most of the flooring repairs. We're like 99.9% ready to sand, paint, and seal. I am mostly done with these smalls. We're gonna finish the wet distressing, and then all of them have to be clear waxed. Some of them are gonna get some white wax, and then I'll probably use a top coat on the big bench just because we'll spray it on. If you guys want to see what these look like in our shop, make sure you hit subscribe and notifications because we're going to have more shop videos as we're ramping it up, getting ready to open Jami Ray Vintage. Molly's closes the end of August. We're going to take 1 week to get it all set up. 1 week? Why are you laughing at that?
1 week.
1 week.
Let's do it.
Get it all set up, and then we're gonna open it as Jami Ray Vintage, and then October we'll have like the official grand opening, but the soft opening is going to be in September.
Yeah, we will be open for business and have things for sale. So come see the shop in September.
Molly is going to let us put anything that doesn't fit in our current space down in the basement, so we're gonna just keep piling it in down there. So when we have that 1 week, we're all ready. Be sure to go to JamiRayVintage.com for the paint and products we used here today for your home DIYs, or if you're a reseller too. They're really easy to use. You can get a lot of stuff done in a little bit of time. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.
Hit the subscribe button.